Good evening, all. It is Monday, April 28th, 2025. I am producer Scott, the producer of Coach's Corner. Heck just told me they're going to try to nominate me for an Emmy, which the list must be getting pretty short of producers if that's even a possibility. But we're going to talk about NFL draft, the fact that Shedeur Sanders dropped to the 5th round, and that's all anybody talk about. Mel Kiper lost his ever-loving mind. We'll get into a little bit of college basketball stuff. But first, we're going to talk to you about our sponsors real quick and then kind of go as normal. So hang tight. We are going to have a quick message for you from Tony Letcher et al.
Medicare plans can be confusing, but they don't have to be. I'm Tony Letcher, licensed insurance agent. I can help you compare your options because I'm appointed with many nationally recognized carriers. With my help, you can find the coverage that fits your needs and budget. I don't want you to be my client today. I want you to be my client forever. Call Tony Letcher today to schedule your free consultation or visit tletcher.com.
Dealing with the loss of a loved one can leave you with lots of unanswered questions and stress. At Hahn Funeral Homes of Mishawaka, we are here to help. Our focus has always been on the families that we serve. At Hahn Funeral Homes, we stand ready to meet your needs and exceed your expectations when selecting a funeral home. Our experienced funeral directors and staff will be there for you every step of the way for all of your funeral service needs. Hahn Funeral Homes is located at 505 West 8th Street in downtown Mishawaka. You can call them anytime at 574-255-1474 or stop in to get all your answers from our local funeral professionals about all your funeral needs. Hahn Funeral Homes, a family serving families. Are you sick and tired of relying on somebody else to get you around? Are you coming to Indiana from a place where you just never needed to learn how to drive? Well, if you're looking to hit the road with confidence, Frick's Driving School in Mishawaka has been helping drivers of all ages gain the skills they need for a lifetime of safe driving. With experienced, patient instructors like Mr. Coach Pat King and flexible scheduling, Frick's makes it easy for you to learn to drive easy and stress-free. Whether you're a first-time driver or need a refresher like Mr. Coach Ron Heklinski, Frick's has you covered. Plus, for just $65, they offer the state driving exam in-house. No need to go anywhere else. Visit fricksdrivered.com or call 574-256-0650 to get started today. If you're nearing retirement, or if you're like me and you're not nearing retirement but you still want to get your money right for retirement, the Harbor Group Planned Wealth has you covered with the ability to answer questions like, what specific steps should I take before retiring? When should I draw Social Security? How do I manage investment risk? How much will health insurance cost if I retire? If I'm over 62, which I still am not, how much money can I earn part-time without affecting my Social Security and or my pension? And is it really possible to get a raise if I retire? If you want all those questions and more answered, call the Harbor Group at 855-5-HARBOR, HARBER, or you can contact VP Jessica Rhodes at 765-393-1074 or visit the website harborgroup.com. Securities and advisory services are offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. And once again, thank you to our great sponsors for all of that. And now, the moment you have all been waiting for. It is the video that you all love, the intro.
Coach's Corner with Coach Heck and the infamous Coach Patrick King. You're stuck with me, man.
I'm stuck.
You are stuck with me. I ain't going anywhere.
There's a lot of people that are jealous of me for sitting here, and there's some people that there's a little sympathy going on at the same time.
There's more people that are sympathetic to you. I'm just saying that much right now. Just remember what Ron Heklinski said today. Man, you ain't that good. The scouting report said you were pretty good. You ain't that good.
Coach's Corner with Heck and King is proudly presented to you by Tony Letcher with Health Markets Insurance, Hahn Funeral Homes of Mishawaka, Frick's Driving School of Mishawaka, and the Harbor Group Planned Wealth down in Anderson. Before we get started, make sure and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and comment in the chat. Now, here's Peck and King.
Man, it is a Monday night in South Bend, and it's 80 freaking degrees out. It's beautiful. We have a lot to talk about tonight. And as I think back to your game in high school, the Anderson Indians at the Wigwam, I've seen some old film, and I just had to say, man, you ain't that good.
I wasn't. Like I said, my job was to take it out of bounds and throw it to the two good Indiana All-Stars and just stay out of the way. I said, I'll meet you at the other end.
Yeah, no, but
50 years ago.
At the end of the day, man, there's always glue guys. There's always guys that have to, play roles. And I can't tell you how important team chemistry is. And I want to say, and at about 7 o'clock, Scotty Bunnell, a former college basketball coach, former head high school basketball coach at Lafayette, Jeff and Don in Evansville. He's going to come on. We're going to talk some Indiana rosters, some Purdue rosters, and where he thinks that those two college programs will shake out, and really college basketball in general. But as we look at IU's roster last year, good player, 6'10", good player, zero team chemistry.
Good point.
I mean, zero team chemistry. And Anthony Leo, who was a former Mr. Basketball and played at Bloomington South, couldn't get any clock for 3 years. But because their team chemistry was so bad last year, Anthony Leo comes in and plays big minutes for the Hoosiers.
Between he and Galloway, they both had a lot of minutes, and that was, because of the chemistry, because they kept people together and made people play together.
Yeah, and I think and so I think when coaches view the NIL, they're always looking, man, I'm getting this guy that went for 20. I'm getting this guy that went for 18 and 10. But it's just become so important to be able to see, can they play together? Can this guy accept a lesser role? Can he worry about rebounding and outletting the ball and let the point guard go?
Well, and we saw that in the NFL draft because they micromanage statistics and numbers and measuring, and they just overthink things that simply because a safety's 6 foot instead of 6'2", he can't play. But yet on tape, during the season, he was pretty good playing against college players.
Yeah,
simply because they've just got that football IQ.
What's the measurables, man? I mean, Will Campbell, the left tackle from LSU, his arm length was about 1.5 inches shorter than what they like. And all of a sudden, then they said, can't play.
Well,
can't play. Are you kidding me? Watch the tape.
Now what have we heard for the last 3 or 4 days about team chemistry and behind the scenes issues with Shedeur Sanders?
Yeah, and we are going to talk about that.
A great example
at about the 7:30 portion of our show, because we're going to have the great Darren Pritchett on, and we're going to talk some NFL draft. But initially, and I think it's a great time of year. I used to love this time of year because of high school basketball.
Sure.
And the openings and some of the jobs are starting to get filled. And I think it's really, really cool then to see which coaches are moving, which coaches are getting out. And there's absolutely quite a few openings to date.
All over the state.
All over the state.
Not just up here in the South End area, but all over the state.
Yeah, I mean, all over the state, and just some local ones that I think we can talk about. Drew Lutz, and then so we could say, is this breaking news? Possibly, because he's just accepting the job tonight.
Yeah, the school board meeting is tonight, which is Monday over at New Prairie.
Yeah, he was a great basketball player at Penn High School. Had an older brother, Ryan Lutz, who played before him and kind of set the tone for Drew. And then Drew went down to Texas to play at Incarnate Word for Carson Cunningham, I believe.
Which one of the number 1 draft pick in the NFL draft played there at Incarnate Word for a year or two, I believe. So,
Cam Ward.
So that is a school. It is a school. It's in Austin, I believe.
But so then he transferred. He wanted to get back home, so he transferred to Bethel and played in that phenomenal Crossroads League here in northern Indiana and southern Michigan, and just scored a ton of points. went to Florida, took an assistant's job at a school in Florida, now coming back to the area and just got named the head coach at New Prairie. And I mean, we're fixing to set a new pope, to get a new pope. I'd like to put a blessing on Drew Lutz, to be honest with you, because that historically is a tough job.
Yeah, it is a tough job, and you kind of have mixed feelings about it because he's probably 24, 25 at the most. Been out of college 1 year. Has been down at New College, which is in Sarasota, right by IMG Academy.
Is that next to Old College?
I don't know, but it's interesting that I know the baseball coach down there. He's a little brother of my son-in-law.
Wow.
So
how's your right elbow? Good.
Little brother, guy's 6'8".
Yeah, he's 6'8". He's a left-handed pitcher, but yeah, that's where Jordan Skoglund's little brother Eric is the head coach, baseball coach. So I know I'm sure he and Drew know each other. But like I said, he's leaving Sarasota to come up here to coach basketball.
He's leaving to come back home. This is home, man. When I was out of South Bend for 40 years, coaching at so many different schools, Anderson, Ball State, Edgewood, Wapahani, and then I had an opportunity to come back home. To Mishawaka, I jumped at that so quick that you can't even believe how happy I was to come home. So he is coming back home, but it is a tough job. And if anybody from New Prairie is listening, I mean, you can say what you want to me, but it is a tough job. It's a tough job because number one, it's a great football school. Number two, it's a great baseball school.
Defending state champions.
In baseball, yeah. I mean, Bobby Schellinger's son is the head baseball coach there. And so is there room for guys that want to play basketball? They have good wrestling too. So is there room for guys that want to play basketball? And I know coaches who were there previously, the stigma, the problem, the trouble was you couldn't get kids to come in and work in the summer. And as you well know, and I know this too, once the season starts from November to March, I don't think players really improve that much. I think they learn the scheme. I think they learn the system, and they learn how to play with their teammates. But I think from March to November is when individual improvements start, and that's, I think, when players become better players.
And you were a poster guy there in your locker room, but one of the posters we had in our locker room, not only at South Bend but down at Madison, was what said, "Players are made in the summer. Championships are won in the winter."
Yeah, no, and I agree 150,000% with that. And I just think in the past few years that been New Prairie's issue. Now, so you hire a young stud firecracker who's got the passion, who's got the energy and the excitement. And will he be able to come in and get those kids excited and get them in the gym in the summertime? And here's another thing to think about. South Bend, Washington's falling apart, man. I'm just saying that. I love Ryan Vargan, man.
That's the rumors, huh?
Well, I mean, Reynolds is gone. He's bouncing out to Texas.
He's heading for Dallas. Yep.
Going to Texas. Dakari Parker, the rumor is he's bouncing to Riley because players can transfer now.
The portal is open.
The Webster kid who came in from Clay, when Clay shut down, the Webster kid, the rumor is going to Marion.
Okay.
So if kids are going to leave Washington, can Ryan Lutz make that an attractive destination on the west side of South Bend?
Very possible. There's a lot of football players that have Polish names that are now playing out at New Prairie for football. The challenge that New Prairie has is they have a lot of two-sport athletes. Problem is they have to have three-sport athletes for them to play basketball. And playing three sports in high school right now is a pretty good challenge.
Yeah, and the problem is they ain't playing in the summer, man. So we know that. And we wish Drew Lutz the best. Tyler Layton, an assistant coach or a player from Jimtown back in the day, played with Derek Deshawn, won a state championship.
State championship team at Jimtown.
Yeah, he is an assistant for L. Rhodes at Penn. Puts his time in under Country Al.
Yes.
And they get to the semi-state a time or two. He coaches Marcus Burton up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he takes the head coaching job at Jimtown.
2 years.
2 years.
second year wins a sectional, wins a regional, gets to the semi-state.
They were a last shot away from going to the state finals. They lost to Manchester, who ends up winning the state championship.
Yeah, and so the Concord job opens up. A lot of reasons why Concord opened up. Derek Deshawn, and I know Derek probably isn't going to say this, but the rumor mill has it that too much parent involvement, man. And Derek said, time for me to fly, as Ariel Speedwagon once said.
He's moving up to administration, as a lot of young coaches do.
Yeah, and as Ariel Speedwagon once said, you can tune a fish, right, but you can't tune. You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish. So time for Derek to fly.
And they also said if you can't make chicken salad
out of chicken doo-doo.
There you go.
But I think a good move for Tyler Layton. Concord in the Northern Lakes Conference, that great sectional at Elkhart.
And let's face it, career-wise, it's a good move. He was back at his hometown school, which you would think he would retire there. But career-wise, he's in his 30s.
Yeah, he's too young to think about retiring, man.
Right, and there's just too many other opportunities. And let's face it, what else can the only thing he can do at Jimtown right now is win a state championship.
Yeah, without question.
They were one game away. So the only thing they can do is expectations, or people are thinking, we'll show up next year to journey time. And let's make sure we get you to the semi-state. Let's make sure we win this time.
Well, it's a little different, man. Bill Sharp, the football coach, stayed there for 100 years.
I know.
And he won 3 or 4 or 5 state championships.
I know.
But in basketball, I think it's a little tougher. And is it a good move for him? I think it's a great move for him.
I do too. Jimtown, as long as they stay 2A, is a good job.
Yeah. Now Jimtown goes to the semi-state again or the regional. They're moving up to 3A.
Yeah, as long as they stay 2A. And in this day and age of people moving around, there's no telling. But you can control your enrollment. That's part of the superintendent's job, is you can control your enrollment. It's not open door policy. You can eventually shut things off.
Yeah, but there's no superintendent that wants to not take in the $7,800 that they get per student.
I'm just saying.
If you can walk and get to the counter at the administration hall and get to the counter.
Right.
You ain't got to have transcripts. You just got to make it to the counter. Yeah, you're in, buddy. So
we mentioned Manchester. They're looking for a coach.
Yeah, Eli Henson.
This is semi-breaking news.
Yeah, his grandfather was the great Floyd Henson, man. Mm-hmm. He was the head coach at both Mentone and Akron. And then when Mentone and Akron consolidated in Tippy Valley, Floyd Henson was the head coach there. When I went to high school, or when I went to college at Manchester College, Floyd Henson was the head coach at Tippy Valley. I did my student teaching at Tippy Valley, and they had a great program. Now, Joe Luce, our guy Joey Luce, leaves Tippy Valley, gets into a little bit of a spitting match, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yep.
And he takes the job at Wawasee. Now, Eli Henson then takes the job at Tippy Valley. Yeah. And
those schools, they all have boundaries they share.
Well,
it's just kind of like everybody's move to the right one chair.
Yeah, but that's a family deal, man. Hey, Gramps, I'm thinking about you, Gramps.
Exactly. The name Henson,
yeah,
in that neighborhood means a lot.
At Tippy Valley, good athletic department. Elkhart, 6A, big ass school, man.
4A in basketball.
Elkhart Memorial, Elkhart Central. Both of those programs really, really good. Now they're one school. Will Cody takes the job a couple years ago. Was Will in over his head? I don't know that, but he didn't win. I know that much. And we knew it was going to be a rebuilding job.
Right.
And you've taken rebuilding jobs.
Oh yeah.
I've taken rebuilding jobs.
They're all more than 2-year programs.
Well, I don't say that, man. I say
you tell them I'm going to win right away.
No. My rebuilding jobs were a year. I went to Edgewood. They were 1 and forever. We were 500. I went to Wapahani. They were 1 and forever. We won 8 games the first year. In my book, if I can't get something done in a year and get the culture turned around, then I'm not really good. And all of the stops that I made, the rebuilding was a year. Mm-hmm. Now, other coaches are different, man.
Scott, does that sound familiar? We went.
What's that?
Just you get the second year. And I was lucky enough to have some success second years. I think North Miami, the second year we were there, we get to the sectional final for the first time in like 35 years over at Logansport.
No, the last time North Miami went to the sectional final, the Dead Sea was only sick.
Well, they got to the semi-state and lost to Gary Roosevelt 90-something to 30.
Yeah.
But then I come to South Bend after they had talked about closing Adams and selling it to IUSB back in the 90s, and all of our players left. Second year, we win the sectional.
Yeah. So then, how can you say? Well, it's a 2-year rebuilding.
Well,
you proved it. It's a 1-year rebuilding.
We were lucky.
No, you weren't lucky. You worked
and a
your
little bit of
ass
hard work.
off.
Yep.
Yeah, you worked your ass off.
And we had some players.
You got kids to believe in your system.
We had some players.
And everybody's going to have players.
Right.
But you got to get kids to believe in your system. If you tell me that Elkhart doesn't have players, I'll say to you wrong. Because they got some athletes. Now, Will's first year, they struggled.
They did.
They did struggle. And if I'm administrators, then I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, all right, now I want to see some improvement on year 2. And improvement is measured on dubs.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple, man. I hate to say that, but it is.
Yeah.
So was there improvement? No. And was. And then I look at this, and I know I love Will, man. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful person, man. I think he has wonderful ideas about young people. But at the end of the day, man, if you're going to be in this profession, then you're subjected to being critiqued on your wins and losses.
Right.
And
the unfortunate thing for him was, he had a good girls program going, and made the decision to go from girls over to boys. And now he doesn't have a team.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I'm not saying he ain't going to have a team. We get the Jimtown jobs open. There's going to be other jobs open, man. You can go get other jobs. But when you're at a 6A school and you're at Elkhart, there are some expectations.
Right.
Now, let's throw some names out there. The name Ryan Varga has surfaced out there.
Sure.
He's done some nice things at Washington. He got no zone offense. I'm just being straight up with you, man.
We saw that against Marion.
I saw that against Marion. You got to show me you know a little zone offense by some cutters, some screening, and whatever. You have a Bodie Bender from Mishawaka would be a hot name now because his first 2 years.
Right. He's had some success at Mishawaka.
At Mish, he's won a sectional and he won a regional.
Now, the inside information I've heard at Elkhart is the superintendent's going to have a lot to do with who's the new coach is going to be. And he's an Indianapolis guy. He's from Pike. So everybody's scratching their heads, getting on the map and looking down there to Indianapolis to see who he might be interested in bringing to Elkhart.
I can guarantee it ain't Jeff Teague because Jeff Teague ain't busted a grape at Pike. It ain't Bill Zick because Bill Zick is retired, and Bill Zick is a great freaking coach, man. My college roommate is a great coach, but there are great coaches everywhere.
I know
there are great coaches everywhere.
So I think it very easily could be somebody that we have unnamed at this point.
Well, it could be Chad Johnston. I mean, Chad has messed around at Adams. He's won some games, but he's had some unfortunate circumstances.
Right.
And he may want to bounce from Adams. I don't think Alex Daniels wants to bounce from Riley. I don't think Robbie wants to leave Marion. And it's obvious to me that Eric Gaff, if he doesn't take his job at Concord, he ain't leaving St. Joe, man.
Not leaving St. Joe.
No, he's got a state championship team at St. Joe coming back next year.
Central part of the state. What are some of the
I'm available.
Yeah, Scott's available.
I don't think they could afford me, though.
HSE was open, I think.
Yeah, and Bobby Allen got the job at HSE, and Bobby Allen is the head coach at Guerin Catholic.
Went from Guerin Catholic to HSE.
Great move, and Bobby is a really, really, really good coach.
I think the Floyd Central job's open down on the river.
Yeah. Well, I got the list of every school, man. Floyd Central, Greenfield Central's open.
Isn't it interesting? The Greenfield Central job opened up. They just announced Mr. Basketball over the weekend.
Yeah, Mullins is Mr. Basketball. Average 35 a game, man, 33 a game.
Where's he going to college?
He's going to UConn, baby, and we're going to see how tough Mullins is, because Bobby Hurley Bobby Hurley's a straight up tough ass coach, man.
Now I saw some of the other schools
Danny.
that were his options.
My bad. Thank you, Danny Hurley.
They, I think IU was on the radar. That was one of his 3 or 4 choices, that it came down to. Now, can one of these?
Why would he want to go to a mid-major?
I'm just saying. I think.
I thought you were going to be dealing with your little daughter today.
I think Kentucky
couldn't
was
leave.
on that.
You
too.
couldn't leave, could you, man? You have too much
Right.
fun with us.
I had to get that one in.
I know.
You notice he's not on. He doesn't have his picture on here. He's hiding behind the scenes. There's a voice.
I
Here,
know.
Can I
Wizard
offer
of
one
Oz.
correction real quick?
Yeah,
Yes.
correct us.
Incarnate Word is not in Austin. Try again.
It's not in Austin. I know it's not in Austin.
Where is it?
It's in Nacogdoches, Texas.
It's in the city with the big old women and the churros.
Oh boy.
San Antonio. Come on, man.
Yeah, there we go.
Come on. What's in Nacogdoches? Stephen F. Austin, right?
Stephen F.
Oh, okay.
Ask me where I scored my first college basket.
I was gonna say, didn't you come down here?
No, I played it in Austin, Texas, at St. Edwards
Yeah.
University.
You're at St. Edwards. That's where the Cowboys used to have
And
training camp.
I scored my first basket against Stephen F. Austin. I don't know, with about 3 minutes gone in the game, a little backside rebound put back. And I'm thinking, this college basketball stuff,
I know.
this ain't nothing.
This is
This
pretty
ain't
easy.
nothing, man. They
Yeah,
said
but
this guy was
did you
good.
hold Larry Bird to 48?
Oh, stop it.
No, I did not. But hey, and the more we talk about that, and the more I think about that, I thought that was a hell of a defensive job by your dad. I mean, Larry was punking ass people for 60.
Is this still the Hinkle scoring record?
It might be. I played 4 minutes, and I was tapping my head saying, "Coach, I'm tired."
And you know what your coach was saying? You ain't never played. How can you be tired, man?
That's the reason I never got off the bench. But we talked about Mullins. Mullins, 3 times the votes. Out of the voting, he had over 180
And he
votes.
should have.
And Trey Singleton from Jeffersonville, he was good. He only played he only played half the season because he was
An
hurt.
injury, yes.
But the thing is, you've got Braylon Mullins that's going to UConn. You've got Trey Singleton who's going to Northwestern. Xavier Robinson from Lawrence North.
Yes.
I don't even know where he's. Has he made a commitment yet? I don't know.
I don't know, but Briscoe's going to Kent State.
He's going to Kent
He's
State.
going to Kent State now, yeah.
Yeah, that's a change, isn't it? Because he had decommitted from Iowa.
Yes. Yes, and speaking
But
of
those were the top 4 names. Those were the top
and
4
Mullins
votes.
and Mullins, when you talk about numbers at 33 points a game, he probably should have got it. But I'm still on this Indiana All-Star deal where Chase Konechny doesn't make the team, and they keep a guy who scores 7 points a game from Ben Davis and plays 7 games because he's hurt. A kid going to Notre Dame to play football, they keep him on the team, and they don't put Chase on the team. That upsets me. And I tell you who I'm upset about. Now, Mike Broughton, he chooses the All-Star team, but his coaches are in those meetings with him because I was in the meetings with Charlie Hall.
Right.
And if I had guys that I wanted, I said, Charlie, man, I want this guy, I want this guy, I want this guy. You can have these next 3, but I want these 3. And if I'm Coach Urban, and I have this understanding that Northern Indiana guys get screwed over.
Mm-hmm.
Northern Indiana guys on the All-Star team get screwed over. And if I'm Mark Urban and I say, now wait a minute, Chase Konechny from St. Joe, Mike Brown, I want this St. Joe guy because he's a Northern Indiana guy. We got a guy from the region on the team, right?
Right.
And
Chicago.
I think that's the only one.
I think you're right.
And I think that's the only one, Scott Buno. Am I right, man?
Scott, we got to get him on here. Hang on, Scott. Let me get you in here. There you go.
Say something.
Can you hear me, Coach?
Oh, man, do you sound good, man.
Do I have to refer to you as Hall of Famer, Coach Hecklinski? I mean, how's that work?
That's how he signs his checks that way.
Just HOF 25. All right.
You got
HOF 25.
Hey, you got a few of those ones against me. I was just thinking, I always like to tell the story. I was at Lafayette, Jeff, 5 years, and you made the trip to Lafayette once. I don't know how that worked. But.
Well, no, that's part of the Hall of Fame criteria.
That's true, Coach King. That's true. I don't know how
it's called scheduling. You got to know how to freaking schedule.
He made the trip the first year, and then all of a sudden I spent 4 years at either the Wigwam. I guess we played one in Indianapolis.
Yeah, no, we played one at Banker's Life.
Oh, I thought you were talking about maybe the commissioner had kind of pulled the plug on him after those 2 texts he got the game before he played Jude.
No truth
No,
to
but I
that.
remember this, Heck. I think it was my 3rd year, and we're playing there, and the ball is tipped up. We have an offensive possession and a defensive possession. So I have an offensive possession. You have a possession. The referee stopped the game, bring us to half court, and says, "Guys, I ain't listening to this tonight." We were 2 possessions in. He scolded both of us.
No, I do remember that. But so one of your guys, Jesse Berry, who was a great player at Lafayette, Jeff, he's in South Bend now, and he's working with Alex Daniel over at South Bend Riley.
That's great to hear. We texted a couple years ago, but you know how you just get busy, but he's one of my all-time favorites. I mean, junior year, I think he averaged about 30 a game. His senior year, about 26. I used to tell everybody our best shot was a good shot by Jesse, and then our second option was Jesse on a tough shot, and then our fourth was Jesse just throwing something up at the basket. But one of the great winners, he left Tippecanoe County. He's the all-time leading scorer. One of the great winners. Lafayette Jeff, of course, won a couple sectionals. Just a terrific kid to coach. He's a great competitor.
Yeah. So let's talk about you for a second. So our listeners know your deal. Scotty was an assistant coach at Ball State University under Ray McCallum. Then he had an opportunity to go with Ray McCallum to the University of Houston. Also on that staff was the great Tim Buckley, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. What a great staff. Tim Buckley got the head coaching job at Ball State and brought you back from Houston back to Ball State, correct?
Spent 3 weeks in Houston. Kind of like to think I laid the groundwork of what happened to him this year, getting to the championship game. Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
You know what, Heck? I was like 28 years old, and I'm in my office. Clyde Drexler, Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Young, Guy Lewis would sit in my office at Houston. I'd look out my window and see the Houston skyline. But I'm a young kid. I didn't know. My second year at Ball State, we go to the NCAA tournament. I thought this stuff was easy, right? I figured I'd go to several, but things change and you realize how hard it is. But yeah, those were fun times. But yeah, I was just a young kid back then, and it's worth mentioning. I mean, I wouldn't have been in that position if it wasn't for you. And in my career, maybe not that position at Ball State, but what happened to me afterwards. I can remember sitting in my office at Ball State, 2 young kids wanting to make the move to high school. And Vince Bertram called you when the Lafayette Jeff job came open and offered it to you, knew you were going to say no, and asked you who you would go after. And you mentioned me and Eric Foister. Foister didn't have any interest, and I ended up being the next head coach at Lafayette Jeff. So obviously you've had a huge impact on my life with basketball, and try to thank you often, and probably don't thank you enough for the opportunities that I've had.
Yeah, no, and those were wonderful days because the great Vince Bertram was on when I coached at Ball State. The great Vince Bertram was on the coaching staff at Ball State, right. And then Vince went on to become, and then Vince got into the administrative side of it.
Yeah, and he was the principal at the time when Gene Miller got out, went to Washington. Of course, had that great run, won a couple championships, but. You recommended me and Eric had no interest, and I ended up being the next.
Well, the reason I recommended you was because Vince put me on the spot, and he said, "Heck, who do you know?" And I just got off the phone. I said, "Oh, how about Bono?" I didn't really think about it. How about Bono? But listen, I talked to Vince last week, and Vince was the CEO of Project Lead the Way, just a big hitter in the United States on education. And we were talking about, and you'll love this, Pat. Vince, at a very young age, put himself in every conceivable position to succeed just by Vince being Vince, man. He would talk to anybody. He would go anywhere that he had to promote himself. But he was the first guy I ever knew that had a cell phone. The cell phones were these big things in a box and stuff.
The bag phones.
Yeah, and Vince comes to me and he says, "Hey, Heck, man, I got a cell phone." I said, "What the hell is that, Vince?" He goes, "I can call anybody. I can be driving in my car. I can call anybody." I said, "Great." So after the first month of Vince in the cell phone, Vince comes into the office one day. He's got tears. He's crying. I said, "V, what are you crying for, man?" He said, I didn't know these cell phones were that expensive. After a month, he had a $700 cell phone bill.
That's back when you paid for each call, right?
Yeah, the bank phones and roaming fees.
$700.
And Vince, one of the great networkers too, just being able to reach out to people and connect with people. And obviously he went a different route outside of coaching, but obviously that's so important in coaching.
I just remember one of the best things about Vince was he had one of the best interviewing packets ever, and he was willing to share it. And all you had to do is just go in there and change the name of the school on it.
Yeah, no, and I know where you're going with that because I used it and I gave it to you.
We all did.
We all used it.
If Vince had $1 for everybody that used that, he'd probably have even a lot more money. My first experience with him was that when he went to Caston when he left Ball State.
Yes,
he was the third coach at Caston. They won 3 in a row up there in the Logan Sports Sectional, and I had to put up with him for 1 year at Castle. We had a blast. We had to play him during the season. Then we played him again in the finals of the sectional at Logan Sport. You had Caston and North Miami in the Logan Sports sectional.
Who won that?
Caston.
V beat you?
Yes.
Oh, I gotta call V and tell him that.
He was a one and done. He was one and done. He got the hell out of there.
Yeah, and then Vince became the superintendent at Lafayette, Jeff. And then he takes the superintendent's job down at Evansville.
Assistant superintendent at Lafayette, Jeff.
Oh, okay.
And then he got the Evansville AD or the superintendent's job, and then I followed him down here to Evansville North.
Okay.
Yeah, and you were at Evansville North for how long?
5 years, same amount of time I was at Lafayette, Jeff.
So you've been out of coaching now for how long?
15 years. No, I'm sorry, take that back. 10 years.
Yeah, and so I say out of it, but not really out of it because you broadcast games, you drive up to Ball State, and you broadcast Ball State home games. Mm-hmm. So you're really, really involved in basketball, and take a look at it now from being on the other side of it. Talk to me about your feelings about where college basketball is today.
Heck, it's just so different. I've had a lot of people. You mentioned Coach Buckley told me he goes recruiting. He goes, you wouldn't even recognize it anymore. Nowadays in the spring, you're redoing your whole team. At least the majority of the teams are, or the coaches are. Back then, we'd be out looking at sophomores and juniors that we were going to recruit, and that we were going to try to sign in the fall that were going to be seniors. But now you look at it, just everything's changed. I think I mentioned to you on the phone. We just had our 25-year reunion NCAA tournament. The last NCAA tournament team at Ball State, I got a chance to see Ray McCallum, which was awesome. Haven't seen him forever, but I was doing the game on radio. And just looking at the team, Mickey Hosier, Patrick Jackson, Dwayne Clemens, Josh Murray from Indianapolis. But five of our top guys were from an hour from campus. We had guys in town. And even Lonnie Jones, our center, was from Gary, and Cedric Moody was from South Bend. And then it got me thinking about, I guess it would have been, if that's 25 for 1990, it would have been, or 2000, it would have been the Sweet 16, your year's 35-year reunion. And you had two guys in town that could have rode their bike from where they lived in high school to campus.
Yeah, Billy Butts and Greg Miller.
Yeah, well, and Chandler Thompson.
So 3 of them. Yeah, three
of them were within 10 minutes from campus.
Two Muncie Centrals in Yorktown.
Yeah, 3 of your top 6 in the Sweet 16.
And then you got a couple from Detroit, which is an hour, a couple hours up north.
Yeah. But you just don't see that anymore. I'm not sure. I looked at it, unless I missed out last season. So 24-25, Indiana State, Evansville, and Ball State did not have a high school kid from the state of Indiana that they recruited as a freshman. So there was no high school freshman from Indiana on those 3 rosters. And gosh, when Jimmy Cruz was doing it at Evansville, and Royce Waltman had that great run at Indiana State with Ray, and Tim Buckley, when I was on staff, we had the Elite 8 run. That's what we had. We had Indiana kids. And as you said, you mentioned Detroit. We did a good job in Chicago when Ray and Tim was there, but it was still that Midwestern feel with a lot of Indiana kids. And, it's just totally different now. You just don't see it. And I was looking at Indiana's roster today. They've gotten.
Hey, great. Let's talk about the Hoosiers, man. What do you got?
Yeah. Well, and looking at their roster, it's like they got a guy from Sam Houston State. They got a guy from Troy. They got, it's just all these mixtures of really good players at the mid-major level that's being recruited. It's almost like the mid-majors, the Ball States, the Indiana States have become the junior college for these high major programs. And we wanted to get old. We complained about not having teams that were older. Now we got that, but they're definitely. I mean, for example, Heg, I look at those Ball State teams. Patrick Jackson isn't playing past his sophomore year at Ball State now. I mean, Dwayne Clemens would have never made it 4 years. Bonzi Wells definitely wouldn't have made it 4 years. I mean, those guys would have been plucked by high major programs, and that's the one thing I don't like. I wish there was a little more continuity with kids staying, but there's the opportunity to go out there and make a lot of money, and you can't blame them for wanting to do that.
Yeah, and so when you put a college roster together today, you might say, I don't know, let's recruit two. Let's sign 2 high school guys, and the rest portal guys, maybe 2 high school guys. Because if you look at IU's roster, Trent Sisley might be the only incoming high school guy right now on their roster. Luke Goody would be the only guy coming back who had played there last year. And then you got a guy from Drexel. You got a guy from Elon. You got a guy from Florida. You got a guy from DePaul. Yeah. You got a 6'10" kid from Davidson. You got the kid from Sam Houston, like you mentioned. You got a kid from Troy. And, oh, yeah, by the way, you got a kid from North Florida. And, oh, yeah, by the way, you got the most valuable player of the Missouri Valley Conference in Darren DeFreeze's son, Tucker. And now you have 1 freshman. And at the end of the day, when you say senior, junior, senior, and you go to remake your roster the next year, you're going to do the same thing that he just did this year coming in, right?
Yeah, there's no question. And as you said, the kid from Florida was kind of a role player for him. So he, in a sense, is looking for a place maybe he can get a little bit more playing time. He played for the national champions last year. But no, you're exactly right. The kids for them that I mean, the guys I really like for them, and I think he's done a terrific job putting together a roster. Because, see, his whole – I know we'll talk about Purdue a little bit later, but just to make a point, IU's redoing their entire roster. Matt at Purdue, Coach Painter, he's finding 2 or 3 guys to go with Trey Kaufman-Renn, to go with Lawyer, to go with Braden Smith. So he's looking for 2 or 3 pieces where Coach DeVries at IU's trying to put an entire roster together. Matt's situation is a little more unique now in college basketball. He's probably done as well. Him and Gonzaga have probably – I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Those 2 maybe have done the best job in retention when it comes to college basketball. I mean, Matt's done a terrific job with that. But, yeah, you mentioned IU. But the thing I like about IU is I don't think they just grab talent. The team really, as I look at it, it really seems – like it's going to fit together. Now, when you have a son that's a 2-time Missouri Valley Player of the Year, that really helps when you start with him. But you mentioned a couple kids, the Reed, the kid from Davidson,
Reed Bailey.
Rebounds. He reminds me heck of those Wisconsin players for Bo Ryan that could stretch the floor, can drive out of the high post. You can run zoom action with him because he's such a good passer as well. He averaged 4 assists. And then the other one probably that kind of jumps off the page is Lamar Wilkerson, the kid from Sam Houston, 6'5", averaged 21 points a game. A lot of people thought he was the best guard in the portal at the time, and they had to beat Kentucky out for him. So you know how good he is. But then outside of that, just a lot of positional size that can really shoot the basketball. I mean, when you start looking at these guys, I went through it today, their three-point shooting percentage, a lot of guys 35 to 40%. Good positional size, which, if you look at what people really kind of knocked Coach Woodson on the last 2 or 3 years, it was just not being able to really shoot the ball consistently from 3. I think Coach DeVries has addressed that with this roster.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think in studying Coach DeVries, I don't know if you've studied him, Pat, but I kind of did a little work on him, and his whole deal in coaching a team is the makeup of the team, the chemistry. He wants guys that are going to dive on the floor and take charges. And I don't know this to be actually 100% true, but I'm not sure Mike Woodson, whenever he signed any player out of the portal, asked the coach where he came from, hey, how many times your guy dive on the floor?
How many charges did he take?
Yeah, because I don't think that was in his thought process, because he's an NBA guy. He wants to know what the guy can do off the bounce. He wants to know what the guy can do in screen roll. But it's chemistry, and it's making or having guys play the way that you coach. Now, I know you had really, really great athletic, talented kids at Lafayette. I didn't see your Evansville teams, but I know you had great athletic kids at Lafayette, Jeff. The kids that I had at Anderson, the kids that I had were totally a reflection of me, in that I just wanted them to play hard. I wasn't smart enough to figure out how to do all the stuff that some of the great coaches did. I just wanted to have guys play hard. And you were able to take athletes, get them to play hard, and then coach them up too. Right on? Right?
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say that we did a really good job of is we had that gunslinger mentality, man. We took a lot of threes, and our kids played with a lot of confidence. But once I got down to Evansville, I did realize how tough our kids were. And to be honest with you, a lot of that, I give credit to Gene Miller. I mean, you want to follow somebody, follow Gene Miller, man. Everything's kind of in place.
Yeah, really.
You can turn it into what you want it to become. And I think we did that because our style of plays were totally different. And, he had a lot more of a thumb on guys in a good way. I kind of just stayed on the gas a lot and just kind of tried to play as fast as we could. But no, you're exactly right. And you think about it, heck, and, the knock on NBA coaches going back to college is exactly what you say. I just don't know that they understand that sense of urgency. You're playing 80 games, so you muck through a lot of them early on. And in college, I just don't think it's that way. I think you muck through some early, and then all of a sudden you develop bad habits. And, you talk about putting a team together. NBA coaches don't have to. I mean, the GM does that for them, and then they just kind of coach who they get. So it is kind of taking in the talent and try to figure it out. But I do think it's a totally different game. Is that going to change with kids getting paid in NIL? I hope not. Hope there's still, a real push for, chemistry and putting teams together, making them fit. And I think it proves out. I think you look at college basketball the last few years as we've navigated this, or as they've navigated it. I do think the teams that are well put together, the puzzle pieces fit. I think without question, those are the ones having success. And I'm with you. When I look at Coach DeVries, I think he's the whole package. I think this, and the way, and just looking at the numbers, reading about these players, I'm telling you, heck, I'm really excited about IU and the way, again, I like their positional size, and I love watching the ball go in the basket from three, and they got a lot of guys who can shoot the three.
Yeah, and I'm going to love watching him guard, because if you were an IU fan in this last regime, you didn't get to see much of that, did you?
They guarded sometimes.
Sometimes.
But
it wasn't a staple.
It wasn't back-to-back possessions sometimes.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting excited to be able to watch that.
Yeah, to Coach King's point, I always said about IU the last few years, they were talented enough. They just needed to guard enough to give their offense a chance, and at times they just didn't guard enough to do that. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they were ever going to be a great defensive team necessarily, but at the same time, if you're good offensively, you got to be good enough to at least give that offense a chance. And at times, I just didn't think they were.
Yeah, and so here, here's a major question that I have. When you and me were at the college level, and even when Pat was at Manchester with Dick Hunsaker, I don't know, we had two assistants, we had a GA. We might have had somebody breaking down some film, maybe. But these staffs now, they got as many coaches on these staffs now, almost as they do players on the roster.
It's more. You look at some of these now, heck, and it's that now you get 5 assistant coaches that can be on the floor and recruit. We used to have 3. Well, back when you did it, it was 2 and a restricted earnings in terms of recruiting. But now 5 guys can be on the floor. But, heck, I'm not exaggerating. You'll see staffs that have video guys, assistant video guys, administrative assistant, director of operations. Some of them will have a veteran coach that's been around that's like assistant to the head coach, which is a non-coaching role. But, yeah, some of these guys – I mean, you look at some of these benches, it's ridiculous. And I always joke, when we went in 2000 to the NCAA tournament, it was Ray McCallum, It was Jerry Francis, John Fitzpatrick, and me. We didn't even fill our administrative spot after I left it and moved up. And I was like, how'd we ever make the tournament with just 3 assistants? I mean, when you did your scout hack, you did your own video, you did your own clips. And
breaking the clips down off of 2 machines. Because
I didn't get your numbers lined up just right.
Yeah,
Your VCRs.
Yeah, 2196. Chandler ain't guarding anybody. 2137. Chandler ain't blocking out anybody.
And if you don't have them lined up, it might be 10 different. You got to go find it on the other one.
And I was looking the other day at Iowa State, and I think I saw 7 grad assistants on their staff, including the video guys and the administrative guys. It's just crazy the way these staffs are.
Yeah, and
they're like football staffs.
And so my point with it all is Mike Woodson couldn't get his staff and just bring a straight up defensive guy on his staff and then say, I trust you. You're a straight up defensive guy. I want you to be the defensive coordinator, so to speak. And if the defense sucks, I'm coming to you. But I never, and I don't know if Mike Woodson would not want to do that, or I don't know if he was too insecure to put a guy in charge like that. But I saw, at
the pro level, he did.
Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, isn't there a coach on there that knows how to guard screen roll? Isn't there a coach on there that knows how to show or double that or blitz that? And obviously they didn't.
Now it's just easy. They just run that soft. They drew all that drop coverage and just depend on that big 6'10" guy to make decisions. And that's easy. It's easy teaching.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unfortunately.
And watching college basketball this year, and I thought St. John's was as good at it as anybody, but I thought the pull-up game came back a little bit. And to Pat's point, I think the pull-up game came back because everybody's in drop coverage.
Exactly.
So they're forcing you over there. And if you can snake that high ball screen and just find your spot and get to that pull-up jump shot, and then just crash from, if your 5's in that short corner, try to crash it and get it back, because you kind of put that guy out of position that's in the drop coverage. But, yeah, I think you're starting to see the offense even adapt to that drop coverage. But, you never know the inner workings. There's not too many. I know how – and you guys are the same. I know how difficult coaching is. I don't want to coach somebody else's team. I don't know what they're dealing with. But I will say this. I do think it goes back to what you said. You got to make sure the pieces fit. When the pieces fit, you're going to get more buy-in and all that kind of stuff. And so you just wonder about that with chemistry and just getting guys to buy into what the game is.
Okay, talking about pieces fitting, because I know that you're really, really high on what Matt Painter has done at Purdue and has got his team, looking to do this upcoming season. And you're really, really high on them, right?
I think everybody is. I mean, they're along with Houston, and I don't study Houston. I don't know what they've lost or what they've come back, but it seems like Houston, Purdue's everybody's number 1, number 2 team in the country. But again, as I said before, Matt's doing it different. Matt's retaining guys, and then he's plugging some holes. I thought it was interesting after they got beat by Houston. I really like, one of my favorite things to do is listen to these guys' post-game interviews, especially when they get beat, just to see what they say. And Matt's one of the guys. I didn't lose very often, but he's one even after wins too. I like to listen to their post-game interviews in front of the media just to see what they say. And after Houston, he had made the point he just thinks they need to get more physical, a little bit more physical, a little bit tougher. And I'm telling you, they did just that. This Oscar Clough, from South Dakota State, 6'11", 17 points a game, 12 rebounds a game, and he is a big physical bruiser. May step out and shoot a 3 every once in a while, but not going to very often. But he's got 2 legit post guys in Trey Kaufman-Renn and now Oscar Clough. So you and I mentioned this the other day when we talked. I really saw in college basketball less stretch 4s and 5s and more true 4-5 players that defend, rebound, play physical, protect the rim, not looking necessarily to step out and shoot the basketball and play finesse. And I think that's what Matt's going to go. He's always kind of been that way. But when you look at this kid, they think he might be the best big that was in the portal. This Oscar Clough, along with Trey Kaufman-Renn up front at the 4 and 5. And then guys in the last 2 or 3 years, has there been more experience coming back in a backcourt than with Smith and Lawyer? I mean, good night. Going into year number 3, 3-year starters, both have an average. I think Laurie was 30 minutes a game last year. Smith was 35 minutes a game. I mean, to have that much experience coming back in that backcourt, to add a big-time post player to go along with Wren, who was a first-team All-Big Ten, as was Smith. I mean, they got 4 really, really good ones. And then they added a kid from Omar Mayer from Israel that's supposed to be a super 6'6" athlete, be able to play right away. And then Liam Murphy from North Florida, 6'7", 13 points a game, shot at 42% from 3. And then they got some other wing guys back. The big kid inside that started for him last year, I'm drawing a blank. Daniel Jacobson, the 7'4" kid who was a freshman last year that actually started their first 2 games before he got hurt. They're going to have him for depth up front. So I think this Purdue team is absolutely terrific. There's not the dominant player. I shouldn't say that because really from the point guard, Smith kind of does what Edey did inside a couple of years ago, the way he just dominates the game. But, man, I think if you had to ask me right now, I'd say Purdue would be my number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, and it only cost them $4 million for Braden Smith, right?
I think
he was
to keep him.
He was on. That was a discount, $4 million to keep Braden Smith.
I had a pretty good source, and that's what they said. Heck, isn't it amazing, Coach? Both of you guys. I think when this whole portal started and transfer thing started, I think it would have been real easy to go, how are the Purdue of the world going to keep up with the SEC and some of these high powered? But Purdue's doing really well in the portal, guys, and they're doing really well with NIL right now.
Yeah, and I think when you break it down, it all and I have a nephew that was a great college quarterback in Georgia, was the Georgia Player of the Year, got great money, and it was all slotted. QB1 got so much, QB2 got so much. And at the end of the season, he as a freshman, then he was moved up to QB1. He got a great figure, and then his head coach left. Dave Clawson retired. They bring in another guy, and he brings in a couple of athletic quarterbacks. And my nephew's a thrower, so my nephew goes to the portal. He commits to Iowa just a couple days ago, and he's slotted in at Iowa at QB2, and that figure is already there. Yeah. Is already there, and I think at some point that they all got to go to that kind of a slotting of a minor league baseball, major league baseball slotting scale to where you're the starting point guard. Here you are. You're the 3. Here you are. You're the backup 3. Here you are. And it kind of takes a little bit of the Wild West out of the Wild West, right?
Yeah, no question. I think the other guardrails you're going to see too is there's going to be a salary cap. It's professional sports now. They're going to do some type of salary cap. Hey, you got so much for men's basketball, you get so much for football. You don't have to spend it, and the mid majors and the low majors won't. But and then the other thing I think they have to do is they have to start signing contracts. And I think what you'll see is a lot of 2-year contracts, and if somebody tries to get out of it after a year, you'll have to buy yourself out of it.
Yeah, you have to have a buyout like the coaches do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of the mid-majors have went to that. I heard last year, and they felt like, okay, if we bring in a guy and sign him to a 2-year contract, and then the high major comes in, it probably isn't a big deal for the high major to throw $50,000, say, to get him out of the contract. But it'll double up the amount that the mid-major has because they had already budgeted for $50,000 that second year. And if now you owe that school back for that first year because you're going high major, now say you got $100,000. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a way for the low and mids to protect themselves. But I don't know that they can, to be honest with you guys. I hear so much from low and mid-major coaches that we're telling kids, if you're at a mid-major and you thought Kentucky should have recruited you, well, come here and prove it. Come here and have big numbers, and then, hey, move on from here. And I think they're kind of acting like they're junior colleges and saying our best bet to get good players is to say, hey, if you come here, you do a good job, we'll help you get to that higher level, and you're really starting to see it.
Speaking of mid-majors, what's Ball State got rolling? I know you call their home games, and you have a great relationship with Michael Lewis. Michael Lewis, by the way, is great. Former Jasper Wildcat, former star at Indiana University. I love Michael Lewis. Give me a 1 minute, the synopsis of the Ball State Cardinals.
Well, first of all, you hit it on the head. The best thing they got going is their head coach. He's terrific. He's a great in-game coach, great personality, really wants to get that thing going. I like that they got a couple guards, one from Tarleton State, is 6'1", combo, Devin Barnes, and another 6'1" guard from Youngstown State, Jawan Maxey. Both are 6'1". Barnes averaged 13 points a game. Maxey was an 11. So you're bringing in a backcourt duo who averaged together 24 points a game last year. Both of them shot it well beyond 33% from three. So I think they're kind of dribble, pass, and shoot guys. A little bit small at 6'1", but not obviously anymore. You can play small. Akron's proven that. Akron started 4 kids below 6 foot, so I don't think the size will be a problem. And then they brought in a kid that's kind of interesting from Iowa State, 6'6" Caden Fish, power forward. Didn't play much at Iowa State. First year he was hurt. Second year got in a little bit, but I think he's that 6'6" power forward that can play in the MAC undersized.
I saw
not a lot returning. Heck, they lost their top 6 or 7 guys.
I see. And of course, I broadcast Crossroads League games here in Northern Indiana, Grace, Bethel, all those schools, IWU. Those guys got players. Those guys got 6'8" post players that can really go.
Play.
But my question is, if Ball State's going to go get a great player, what are they paying him? $50,000, or maybe even $50,000?
Heck, I would say this. Now it's different. Digressing a little bit, but the MAC is ranked like the 22nd or 23rd best league in the country right now. Back when we were doing it, they were 9th. The MAC was 9th or 10th. So They were very comparable to what the Missouri Valley was back then. And
exactly.
I can tell you this, and having talked to a few coaches, the top of the Missouri Valley is approaching $1 million on budget for their team. So, you're not talking, depending on how they separate it for their players. I would say the MAC, Akron, Toledo, Kent would be my guess. Maybe Ohio is probably at the top in terms of NIL money. I would say they're probably, give or take, $800,000 for the team.
I mean,
so to your point, $50,000, yeah. Depending on how you want to spend it.
Yeah. Wow.
If you want to be top heavy and just put some role guys right, do you want to kind of spread it out, get 6-7 guys? It just depends on the direction you want to go.
Yeah. Well, if I'm on one of those teams and my one guy's making $100,000 and I'm making $250, my $100,000 guy's buying every Friday night, man. That's all I'm saying, man.
Hey, you got those alligator arms when that check comes out. You're not reaching across the table now with all that money you got.
Yeah, hey, we are going to hang out this next spring because the NCAA tournament finals in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah,
we're all going to get together. I mean, Buck's going to be in. We're all going to get together.
I think the last time I saw you was at the Final Four a few years ago.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man, we really appreciate you taking some time to jump on with us, talking some hoops, man. You're a great hoops guy. I always tell you, when you're getting back in, man, you're too young. And
I enjoy what I do. I enjoy what I do at Ball State. I get in that car after the game and I drive home and I don't have a care in the world. I'm not worrying about the next game or what just happened that past.
We've heard that story. We've heard that story a lot up here.
We've heard that.
It's amazing how smart we are behind the scenes there with this microphone on or headphones on.
Hey, I haven't made a mistake behind the mic in terms of what we should have done at Ball State since I started doing it 10 years ago.
Hey, Bunny, you're the best, man. Thanks for coming on and taking some time with us, buddy. All right. Thank you, man.
Thanks.
See you, Scott. So that leads us to a little bit of a break. And then when we come back from the break, we are going to have the great Darren Pritchett on. We're going to talk some freaking NFL, Notre Dame, Shedeur Sanders. Hey, talk a little more crap, Shedeur.
No kidding.
Hey, tell this team, man, don't draft me. I don't want to play for you. Or have this meeting and say, nah, this doesn't really matter to me. How's it looking now, big boy? Take us to break, man.
There we go.
Finding private health insurance can be stressful. What if it didn't have to be? I'm Tony Letcher, licensed insurance agent. I prefer to personally meet with my clients so I can get a better understanding of your needs and budget. I can even review your current coverage. I don't want you to be my client today. I want you to be my client forever. Call Tony Letcher today to schedule your free consultation or visit tletcher.com.
The loss of a loved one can leave you with lots of unanswered questions and stress. At Hahn Funeral Homes in Mishawaka, we're here to help. Our focus has always been on the families that we serve. At Hahn Funeral Homes, we stand ready to meet your needs and exceed your expectations when selecting a funeral home. Our experienced funeral directors and staff will be there for you every step of the way for all your funeral service needs. Han Funeral Homes is located at 505 West 8th Street in downtown Mishawaka. You can call us anytime at 574-255-1474 or stop in to get your answers from our local funeral professionals about all your funeral needs. Han Funeral Homes, a family serving families. Hey, are you in the great state of Indiana and need your driver's license? Frick's Driving School in Mishawaka makes it easy with the Indiana State Driving Exam in-house for just $65. No formal driver's education is required. You might even get to drive with Pat King. Who wouldn't want that? I don't know. You just have to be 16 years and 270 days old, which is like 9 months, and have held an Indiana learner's permit for at least 180 days, which is like 6 months. Frick's provides the vehicle. You just have to bring yourself, a can-do attitude, and a ride to and from the office. The exam takes only about 20 minutes, and you can walk out with your official Indiana driver's license, which we're like the only state that calls it an operator's license for some reason. To schedule, you can call 574-256-0650 or visit fricksdrivered.com. If you're nearing retirement and need to get your money right, and you know what, heck, even if you're not approaching retirement and you still want to get your money right for retirement, call the Harbor Group Planned Wealth. They can help you retire with confidence, especially if you have questions like, what specific steps should I take before retiring? When should I draw Social Security? How do I manage investment risk? How much will health insurance cost if I retire? If I'm over 62, which I am not, but if you are, how much money can you earn part-time without it affecting Social Security and or pension? And is it really possible to get a raise if I retire? If you want all those questions asked and probably many more questions answered, you can call the Harbor Group at 765-393-1074, or you can visit them online at harborgroup.com. Securities and advisory services are offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember, man?
We are back.
The Black Sedan Band from Birmingham, Alabama, man. They are so good. You ever need a party band, get a hold of me, and I will get a hold of them. They have a great drummer, by the way. It's my brother, Big Donnie Hecklinski. All right, man. We are in a great part of our show tonight now. We have the great Darren Pritchett on. We're going to talk some NFL football, some NFL draft. Darren, how you doing, man?
Coaches, I am doing great. How about you?
He's got a voice.
Just another day in paradise, man.
He's got a voice. The last time we talked to you about a month ago, you were still nursing that thing.
It was a month and a half of crackling voice, but I made it through puberty, and I think I'm good to go now.
No, I mean, and here's the deal: your voice is your work, man. This is what you do. So that's really important for you. 6 Notre Dame guys drafted, man. That's gotta feel nice. And I remember, I don't know, a few years ago when Brian Kelly was early in his tenure, you wouldn't find maybe 1 or 2 Notre Dame guys get drafted.
It's interesting. Notre Dame actually became the first team to play for the national championship and not have a player go in the first round since the Buckeyes in 2014. So that just tells you the depth of this year's football team. And guys, I wouldn't be surprised if there are 2 Irish players in the first round next year. And I want to go nuts, but I would say there are 3 that have the capabilities. I think the one that's certain, unless there's an injury, is Jeremiah Love, the running back.
Yep.
Charles Jagasaw can be an elite tackle or guard. He's probably going to play guard this year, which might hurt his value a little bit, but he can play at an elite level in both spots. And then Leonard Moore, he'll just be a sophomore next year. Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of somebody else. Moore's 2 years away. If there's another person, it'll come to mind in a couple of moments, but there's a chance for a couple of guys next year in the first round. So a lot of depth on the way, guys. A lot of depth on the way.
Yeah, and then you look at Xavier Watts, man. He goes in the third round. He goes to the Falcons. Ben Morrison goes after Xavier Watts. Where does Morrison go to again?
He went to Tampa Bay.
Yes, Jack Kaiser. And Jack Kaiser's the one that kind of surprised me going into fourth round, because I thought Jack Kaiser would get drafted, but I thought it would be a sixth or maybe a seventh round special teams kind of guy. But he goes into fourth round to Jacksonville. Riley Mills dropped a little lower than I thought he would, but I mean, Riley got hurt at the end, and I think if Riley wouldn't have got hurt, he might have been third round. But Riley goes fifth round to Seattle. Tight end Mitchell Evans, fifth round to Carolina. And then Riley Leonard, sixth round to the Colts. And in listening to Riley Leonard and hearing his comments, you would have thought that Riley Leonard was a first-round draft pick of the Colts. He was so excited to get drafted and go to the Colts, wasn't he?
He sure was. The Colts were linked to him in several mock drafts. They had him going to Indianapolis, so I wasn't surprised by that. I think Leonard's going to feel comfortable because he already has a pre-existing relationship with Daniel Jones, both Duke quarterbacks, so he knows Daniel, who's going to battle Anthony Richardson for the starter's job this year. And I'm not sure there are many better situations for a quarterback to fall into with less certainty who's going to start and who's going to be the backup. Riley goes to a place where, gosh, guys, I think they're still looking for answers. When you take Anthony Richardson, fourth overall 2 years ago, and 2 years later, he's going to split reps 50-50 with Daniel Jones, who they couldn't get out of New York quick enough. Colts are in a really interesting spot right now.
Well, there's a lot of people that say since they have two quarterbacks, they really have no quarterback because, like you said, they're struggling. All three of those quarterbacks are real similar in style, which gives Leonard a chance, maybe just step in. It's not like they have to recreate an entirely new offense for him. If let's say somebody gets hurt and all of a sudden he gets, third quarter, hey, you're in. It's not they're not going to have to recreate the wheel. He's going to be able to just fit right in.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to have to improve his ability to stay in the pocket and pass, because his first inclination is to get out and run. And he was good at it, so why not do that? But he's the perfect guy to put on a practice squad and let him dress, because they always have the third quarterback dressing on Sundays. And he is the perfect guy to let learn the position. And I believe this is true. I believe him and Daniel Jones share the same quarterback academy that they work out of. And so I think that would be really, really good for him, and just in a great situation. And to hear his voice say, man, I am so happy and blah, blah, blah. How many 6th-round draft picks are saying that, man?
Well, and one thing about Shane Steichen, his head coach, he was the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia when they got Jalen Hurts. Now, Hurts was further along as a passer coming out of Alabama and Oklahoma, but Steichen has worked with these type of guys before, and he's part of the reason why Hurts has turned into the player he has in Philadelphia.
Hey, let me ask you a question. We mentioned him earlier, Xavier Watts. Is he too small to be a defensive back? I mean, he's a 6-footer, right?
He's a safety, man.
Or in general, but do they have to? When you're in the middle, do you have to be 6'2", 6'4" to play the middle back there as a safety, or roll up and guard the slot?
Well, they love those 6'4" Kyle Hamiltons, but those don't grow on trees, do they?
No.
Those guys are tough to find. And I would say two things hurt Xavier. Number one, some teams just want safeties that are taller. In fact, I was doing some research when Morrison went to Tampa Bay, and I listened to the Buccaneer press conferences. Their VP of player personnel made mention that there are many NFL teams have a height restriction. If you don't reach the height, no matter how good you are, they take you off their list. So there are teams that would say Xavier Watts is not tall enough and maybe took him off their board. So that played into it. And maybe his 40 time hurt him a little bit as well. But as we know, if you produce on the field, he'll overcome that 40 time. Maybe just lose a little money up front.
Yeah, I'm thinking secondary people. I'm not worried about their 40 speed. I'm looking, can you cover people? And I'm looking at game tape.
and instincts.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
and then you
IQ.
look at Will Campbell, the left tackle, whose arms are what, an inch and a half too short, and you're saying that I ain't drafting him, man. His arms are in it, and then you watch him maul people on tape, and you say, really? I was so happy to see him go in the top. I think he went 4th or 5th, but he's just a player, man. And I don't give a crap about his arm length. Do you?
Well, I'm not an offensive line guru, but if he's keeping the defense away from my quarterback like he did at LSU, I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances with him.
Totally.
All right. So coming out of the draft, I have a couple key questions, but I have one great point. This is what I truly want to do. I want to take 2 paintball guns, one with orange paintball pellets and one with blue paintball pellets, and I want to line Clay Matthews on a wall and fire a paintball gun with Chicago Bear colors.
Orange and blue.
There we go. Right at Clay Matthews. Obviously, you saw when they brought Clay Matthews up and what he said about our beloved Bears.
Oh,
right?
boy.
I did see that, yes.
They couldn't hit the mute button quick enough.
No, and then you saw Seth Rollins come up, the wrestler, the WWE wrestler, and make the comment, like right behind us is Lambeau Field.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb Williams owns Lambeau Field because he's 1-0 against the Packers at Lambeau Field, man. I loved it.
It just
man.
never fails. The hometown gets some advantages, but there's always a comeback.
What's your favorite part of the draft, man? And I mean, jump into it right now, man.
In terms of just watching it or the picks that took place?
Yeah, the picks that took place.
Oh, goodness gracious. I think Tampa Bay did something really good. They needed a wide receiver and a corner, and they could have gone a couple of different ways, but they decided to go Egbukwa from Ohio State to take care of their wide receiver need. And apparently there were teams wanting to jump up to grab him, so he was a hot commodity. So they took care of their wide receiver there, and then they came back and got their corner, Benjamin Morrison, who talent-wise is a first-round grade just with some injury history now. So I like what Tampa Bay did, getting Egbukwa and Morrison in the first 2 picks. I think they did a really nice job, but I just think throughout free agency and drafting, I think the Bears have really set themselves up. I think more than anything else, guys, I think the way they handled free agency, the Bears took care of most of their glaring holes. So they went into the draft not doing what the Cowboys did. What did Dallas do? They lost the great Zach Martin to retirement. So they've got a hole at offensive guard. So what do they do at 14? They don't take the best player on the board. They take an offensive guard, which I hate doing in the first round. I can find those guys later on in the draft. So they went for need. Jerry Jones got scared and went for need. Well, the Bears, what could they do? They could go take the best player on the board, and I love Loveland from Michigan. When you think about what Johnson did in Detroit with Matt LaPorta and Brock Wright, who played at Notre Dame, those 12 personnel sets, they did great things in that 12 personnel. They could run it, they could throw it, and Loveland, he's got a little Travis Kelce in him. He's 6'6". He's great off the line of scrimmage. He's great yards after the catch. I don't want to compare him. I'm not sure if he's dating a pop star or not, but I think Loveland is a terrific fit. And the Bears have really, I think, set themselves up. I just wish they were in the AFC South because they could win that with Houston, the Colts, Jacksonville, and Tennessee. But, man, in the NFC North, it's tough just to go 3-3 in your division.
Yeah, and then you take Luther Burden, who is really comped to just some of those great slot receivers, and he can do everything out on the field. And then you look at Ozzie Trapillo, who's 6'8" out of Boston College. I read some stuff about him. One of the scouts said day 1 starter at right tackle. Oh. So that tells me that they're going to move Darnell Wright to the left side possibly. And then you take the defensive tackle from Texas A&M, Turner, who is violent. That's the word that they use to describe him, violent. They take a quick linebacker, Hippolyte. I've never heard of him, but now I'm studying him. He had the fastest linebacker time at the combine. great special team guy. Al Harris, who is their new secondary coach, calls Ryan Poles and said, hey, I got this cornerback from UT San Antonio, Zal Frazier. He's 6'3", and he's glue. His nickname is Glue. He's great. They get him at number 5. They take Luke Newman, the offensive tackle from Michigan, who's played at Michigan for a year, played in the Ivy League at Holy Cross, and the Michigan people rave about him. They say he'll be your backup center. And then I'm really mad. Okay, and I'm really upset because I'm saying the Bears got to get a running back. I'm saying they got to get a running back. They got Travion Henderson. They got Judkins. Hold on for 1 second. They got Judkins. They got all these great running backs. Caleb Johnson from Iowa. And they get this cat named Kyle Monangaya from Rutgers. I'm saying, who the hell is this? All Kyle Monangaya is the second leading rusher in the Big Ten. Second leading rusher in the Big Ten, averages over 5 yards a carry, and he's coming in at number 7. So what that and it's told me this for years, Darren. I don't know really nothing. Those guys, that's what they do all day long, man. They break down this tape. They know who can play, and the guys that they come up with, they can play, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's remarkable, and as a fan, I'm as guilty as anyone. I start to panic because as a Bronco fan, we finally have our quarterback, so that makes the whole drafting process a whole lot easier. But when they didn't get a running back in the first couple of rounds, I'm starting to think, oh boy, they're going to have to go free agency. And I was a big Audric Estime fan at Notre Dame. I'm not so high on him in the National Football League. I just don't know if he has enough wiggle. But they drafted R.J. Harvey, and this kid, watching tape on him, I'm as excited as ever about his possibilities. So as a fan, you just got to be patient. You got to trust your organization and hope that they know exactly what they're doing. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'm excited about that. I tell you, here's one that's interesting. Howard Cross didn't get drafted, the Irish defensive tackle. Did you see where he landed?
Yeah, free agent with the Bengals, man.
Al Golden.
I love that.
I think that's going to be cool.
And Bo Collins, Bo, excuse me if I drop a couple, Collins ends up with the New York Giants, man. Who's going to throw him the ball?
Russell Wilson, right? Russell, they got Jameis, they got Jackson Dart. I mean, they got a lot of. What about Cleveland? Cleveland's the one. They've got Kenny Pickett, they got Deshaun Watson, they drafted Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, and they have Joe Flacco back. So they so you just you named the name that I want to get into, Shedeur Sanders.
I just saw that Gabriel threw the fastest ball. It was like 20 miles per hour faster than anybody else at the combine. So he must have an Elway type arm.
Well, he's really good, by the way. He's really good.
But how fast is too fast? I mean, you're going to break thumbs, break fingers?
Well, no, he didn't break anybody's hands at Oregon. Trust me, man. He's really good.
But I can't remember the exact speeds, but it was like one was like everybody was like 50 miles an hour, and he was like 65 or 70. He was way faster than anybody else's ball speed at the combine.
And that was his changeup. Was his changeup.
Might have been.
Famously, Ed McCaffrey, when he played for the Broncos, he has a cross in the middle of his chest from an Elway fastball.
Really?
I've heard those stories.
That's amazing. All right, so Mel Kiper, poor Mel Kiper, and a couple of those other guys, those prognosticators, Shedeur Sanders should be the first pick, blah, 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 blah. Shedeur Sanders goes to the meetings, doesn't take the meetings serious from what I've been told with the GMs, with the coaches. Prime is out there saying, don't draft him. He ain't playing for you, blah, 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 blah. And I just think it's retribution, man. I just think the word humility, but more than that, I just think that most of them found out that he really wasn't a prototypical pro quarterback, right?
I've heard that He doesn't have great velocity or arm strength, that he might be a dome quarterback. Well, that's not something I'm very interested in. He's not that great of an athlete like some of the quarterbacks we're seeing today. If I'm not mistaken, he didn't do anything at the combine throwing the football. He didn't do anything at the Senior Bowl. So he opened himself up to limit his pool of teams he could go to. Now, Coach King, are you a Bears fan?
I can be.
Stop! You better be.
Okay, well, let's use our two teams as an example.
When they're above 500, I am.
Okay. Well, you guys as Bears fans, and I'm a Bronco fan, and we're in the same situation. We have second-year quarterbacks. You got Caleb Williams, and I've got Bo Nix.
And we're both playing outside.
Yeah,
because you said he's not a dome team.
Yeah,
a dome
apparently
dome player.
You can't get nothing by Pat. Trust me.
Throw aside his ability. The last thing I want to do is to get into my young quarterback's head by bringing the circus to town. There just seems to be so much chaos that travels wherever he goes, and maybe getting away from dad a little bit on the same team will help. But I just said to myself as a Bronco fan, I don't want Bo Nix to have to look over his shoulder and deal with all of the stuff that just – you better be one heck of a quarterback if you're going to bring the type of – I don't know what to call it, atmosphere.
Well, I mean, if you're going to bring his posse into the building, if you're going to bring his posse into the building, and think about this, Shedeur Sanders has never played for another coach in college other than his dad. And his dad is obviously going to be outspoken. His dad is always good. It's never going to be a deal. Well, now Shedeur's just got to work at it. He's just got to keep working at it. It's always going to be, well, why isn't Shedeur playing? He's got his number retired to Colorado. Why isn't he the starter? So I just think when all of that came down, they all said what you said. I ain't messing with it. He ain't good enough for me to mess with it. Right. He ain't good enough for me to mess with it. So I kind of felt bad for the kid, but the kid put himself in that position. And there's a word that I like to use. It's called humility. Be humble, man. I mean, those guys have been breaking their asses in the NFL for 10 years. And you're going to come in and think that, you're going to be and you're going to tell them how it's going to be. It's not how it is.
Let me put it a different way. Maybe he's too much of a distraction. And the parallel to that is Colin Kaepernick. He became a distraction for too many teams, and they didn't want to bring him into his organization. Even after he led the 49ers to the Super Bowl, when he took his stance, I don't know if you call it political or whatever, it ruined his NFL career because people didn't want to have to deal with the distraction. And maybe that's the best way to put Shedeur on your team. It can be a huge distraction to your football team. And
I think you're 200% right. And I'll take this a step further because I don't ever want to play politics with it. But when that happened, I think our president Donald Trump came out and said he should not even be on an NFL team. There should be nobody put him on a team for what he did and kneeling down. And this is what really upset me because I'm a Donald Trump guy. I voted for him, but it's not about politics here. But when Donald Trump came out and said Shedeur Sanders should have been drafted in the first round, my first comment was, you're the president. You're not running an organization. You're not trying to appease a certain group of people by saying that. I mean, the people that run those organizations, they know. And I thought that was back to those Twitter comments that he used to make in his first presidential run.
Did you see the reaction of the Browns head coach and GM when the pick was announced?
I did not.
There was hardly – it was kind of like – it was like the owner made him do it. That's the way it looked to me.
It was like relief it was over.
Yeah, I mean, they were just kind of like, oh, boy, here we go. But I'm assuming the NFL, it was pick number 144. They'll just retire 144 and no one could ever be drafted again at 144. I mean, if we're going to retire his number. I mean, look at Colorado won a national championship in 91 and nobody has their number retired. Nobody.
It was never a topic.
Sean Salam's numbers when he won the Heisman. Holy Toledo.
100%. And I think it all had a major play in it. But then I also think at the end of the day, NGE not good enough. I mean, when I used to go recruiting and I had a list of players, I would just write NGE by their name, not good enough. And I think, and I think when you put all the distractions in and then you say not good enough, that's what it adds up to. Now, I don't even know unless he just buckles it down, puts his chin strap on, and just goes out and tries to get better. I don't know if he's not a camp casualty cut anyway, to be honest with you, because I know Dylan Gabriel. I mean, Dylan Gabriel knows how to read offenses. He, like Pat was saying, he can sling the ball. And then you got the old pro Flacco. And, I mean, I don't know about Pickett. I mean, I don't know if Pickett can do anything. But you still got Watson in the background, so I don't know, man.
I think they start with Flacco. They start with Flacco. I think I think it's his job in training camp, and let the young guys kind of filter in. Hey, Darren, before we go, let's shift gears. Come back to South Bend.
Okay.
What are your insiders talking about? Who's the number 3 quarterback for the Irish going into fall camp? I've got my idea. How about taking that 26 off of Buckner and giving him back his quarterback number as he can be the utility quarterback. I don't think there's a problem with that at all.
Well, I think there is a major problem with it. He ain't any good. They got it.
He's good.
They got a freshman kid though, don't they?
Stringer.
Like Burton or something like that, who's pretty good. Ebert, yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see what he turns out to be. I've heard different accounts from draft analysts on what he might become. So I'm waiting to see. I'm open to Buckner having throws because you can never have enough quarterbacks because it's almost like you have pitch counts.
Exactly.
In fall camp and in the summer, you need enough guys to throw the ball. You don't want your starter throwing it, too much. So you can never have enough quarterbacks, just like you never have enough catchers at spring training. So,
to me,
it's
just like,
but I don't think he's a guy that can win you many games. I've never been big on Buckner.
He's an emergency guy.
Let me ask you guys this: when it was Tyler Buckner and Drew Pine battling for the starting job, if Steve Angeli was on that team, who starts?
Steve Angeli, without question.
He was just here at the wrong time.
Where did I just saw Drew Pine's name pop up again?
He's at Bowling Green.
He's Bowling Green.
School number 5.
He's at Bowling Green with Eddie George.
He finally went to a place where he's got a chance to succeed.
He's got a chance to play. And so Steve Angeli to Syracuse, good move for him.
I think it's a really good move. And just the fascination that it's Notre Dame senior day when Syracuse comes to town, November 22nd, maybe playing for their playoff lives. And here comes good old Steve Angeli to town. I mean, that is dripping with drama right there.
Yeah, why not? That sounds like fun.
Did you make it back to South Bend to see any of the spring practices or see any of the quarterbacks up close?
I called the Blue Goal game with Eric. So we were there watching that, and CJ Carr, a couple of those throws, boy, that was pretty big time. He's very, very impressive. I will be shocked if he's not the starter.
Well, plus he's got the offensive line to protect him too, right?
Yeah, and maybe Minchie is a situational quarterback in the red zone and short yardage. I want to be careful in saying this, but sometimes you almost have to figure out a way to keep a quarterback around because Minchie very easily could go to the portal next year, and then you lose him, and I don't think they want to lose him. They still feel like he can be a really, really good player, so maybe you entice him with a package. I mean, I believe in one quarterback playing, but Minchie is a guy that has a different skill set, and with his running ability, maybe you find a role or two for him in the offense when need be.
Yeah, and I think it's a great time for a young quarterback to be at Notre Dame because, you got a great offensive line, and I mean just flat out a great offensive line. B, you got a great running game with Love, with the rest of those guys. I mean, they're 3 and 4 deep in the backfield. Now, what I'm going to say is you got to find a way maybe to play multiple, running backs offensively at one time too. I mean, Aeneas Williams can play the guy that was hurt last year. I mean, they're so deep in the running back room.
I think you're going to see something a little different this year. I think Coach McCullum was a great teacher of fundamentals. Those guys didn't put the football on the ground, but I felt like he played too many running backs too often. Jeremiah Love is special. and I just don't feel like he got enough carries. Now, it hurt because your quarterback gobbled up a lot of those carries. So I want to make that clear. But this year, you don't have that happening. And I think you have to make sure you use him when you need to. If you're up 21 points early in the fourth quarter, then that's a different conversation. But in the heat of the battle, Jeremiah Love's got to be on the field. That is a special kid. And I love Price and Williams and on down the line, but Love is different. He is different. And so I want him to have the capabilities to have an explosive year this year. And I think you're going to see him a little more often in key situations.
Yeah, and you're bringing in the new running backs coach from Penn State that played really two running backs at Penn State, sometimes simultaneously too. And I agree with you, because you have to give Jeremiah Love an opportunity to get lathered up. He can't carry the ball 2 or 3 times and then go sit out for 5 plays. He's got to get that lather rolling. The more times he hits those seams, what a nightmare for a defensive coordinator.
Absolutely. I'm a big Jeremiah Love fan, and I'm not saying run him 5,000 times this year, but boy, when the game's on the line, you're in a key situation. On third down, I just think his capabilities, catching the football, running the football, got to take care of pass pro. But I just love him to stay on the field on third down. That excites me what this offense could be.
Speaking about the passing game, besides Greathouse, besides Faison, give me some receivers that you really liked.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because we started the conversation talking about next year's NFL draft, and I mentioned Love and Jagasaw might be a long shot. You know who is really popping up in a lot of top 150 college football player lists and mock drafts for next year?
I'll
give you 3 guesses.
It's not Eli Reardon, is it?
It is not.
You're a lacrosse player.
That's Faison.
No.
Not Greathouse.
I give you 25 guesses, and I bet you wouldn't guess it. That's how surprised I was. I could have named 10 people.
Is it a tight end?
It is not.
All right, go. Give it to me.
Malachi Fields, the transfer
Really?
from Virginia. CBS Sports did a top 150 players in college football. He was number 19. He's 6'4", and he had last year 55 catches for 808 yards and 5 touchdowns, wide catching radius. Didn't have a great offense around him at Virginia. I continue to see people saying he is going to be the breakout performer, and I think he will lead the Irish in catches. But, guys, I had no idea he would show up 19th on a best player in college football list, and I had no idea he would be at least in the conversation early in the process for a first-round pick next year. Wouldn't have guessed it in a million years.
That's really cool, but I have another proposition for you, and I hope you take it. I hope you take it.
All right.
Nolan Arenado to the Cubs. The Cubs are going to pay the whole salary. Wow. Cubs will give you a young player or two, but because they're going to pay the whole salary, you're not going to get number 3 or 4 or 5 in the farm system. You're going to get a couple players, but I know the Cardinals really want to get rid of Arenado's salary. Correct?
He's been to bobblehead.
Are you saying no?
Oh,
No.
That sounded like Burleson, but close enough.
You're saying no.
Oh, no, I'm not. Heck, I love you, man, but the Cardinals can't trade a premier player to the Chicago Cubs and help them win the World Series. I mean, I know you got all these AAA players that are on these minor league prospect lists, but Coach, you wouldn't trade us, Ryan Sandberg, if we were needing a second baseman with Sandberg's contract running down, right?
Well, here's what I would do, because the Cardinals have this understanding. They ain't winning this year, man. And they need to get out from under Arenado's contract. They were trying to give him away in spring training, right? They were trying to get, and the Yankees wouldn't take him because they wouldn't take on the whole contract. A couple other teams wanted to split the contract. But I'm saying the Cubbies take the whole contract. And, imagine all the torpedo bats that the Cardinals could buy with that money gone.
I am not going to give you back the Lou Brock, Ernie Broglio trade with this. No, absolutely not. Can't do it. I love Arenado. I love to watch him play. He's taken a step back offensively over the last couple of years, but I go to St. Louis to watch him play. He's a lot of fun, and they're going to find him a good home, but I would bet
Chicago.
30 more teams that the Cardinals would trade him to before the Cubs. There's no way. Again, would you have traded Ryan Sandberg to the Cardinals in a deal like that?
If Ryan Sandberg was on his last legs, if I wanted to get out from underneath his money, and if I could get a guy or two, and it didn't have to be Lou Brock, I probably would, because the money, that contract is an albatross around the Cardinals' neck. And I understand, I mean, money is money when it comes to those owners. And it might not be the GM.
Here,
It might be the owners.
Q's trying to give his 2 cents worth in there.
What's he got?
Says the Ricketts family's going to pick up that tab. He says, I'm not holding my breath.
Okay, can I say this, Coach, really quick? I know you're a big Cub fan.
Say it, man.
So many Cub fans are still ticked off that they didn't sign Alex Bregman to play third base.
And I'm one of them.
Bregman would have been a great fit, but he got $40 million from the Red Sox. I mean,
Per year.
$40 million per year. That's too much for him, despite he's having a great year. Let me pose it this way. If you sign Alex Bregman to that deal, you're not signing Kyle Tucker. So that money you saved on Bregman can go to Tucker. I would take Kyle Tucker any day of the week, man. That kid is a special player. Now the world's finding out how good he is. I know he did some good things in Houston, but now in Chicago, in that market, he's going to become a superstar, and I can't wait to see if the Cubs find some pennies on the ground at Wrigley Field to pay him. I'm not holding my breath, but you're not getting him if you have Bregman on your roster right now. You're not re-signing him.
I agree, but the word is that a lot of fans have dropped quarters behind the ivy, and they're going to go start getting all those quarters out because it's going to take.
Hoping they grow into 50 cents.
It's going to take maybe. I don't think he's getting a 10-year contract like Guerrero because Guerrero was 26 and he's 28. I think it's going to be maybe an 8-year contract at 35 to 40 a year, right? That's what I'm thinking. And he's only taking that because he has a love affair with Wrigley Field and the Cubs.
I would not be surprised if he doesn't get 8-9 years over 40 million.
Yeah. And
40, 45, 50 million, because left-handed bat, power, hits for average, good glove. I mean, he's more valuable than Guerrero Jr. Vlad is just a first baseman. Tucker plays the outfield. I just think there's more longevity to Tucker because Guerrero's weight has always been in question.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. And by the way, one last question. How's Wilson Contreras playing at first base, man? Is he good?
He's been great, actually. Yeah, he's been really good. Let's see. One of the first games of the year, there was a pop-up down the right field line, and he starts running to the right field fence. The first thing he does, he takes his hat off. Like
he tries to think he's got a mask on. Oh, dear. That is hilarious.
He's a beauty. He's off to a slow start offensively, but he's actually been really good at first base handling the glove. It's been a really pleasant surprise. So that's a really good thing.
You know, as a neutral observer, I'm just really impressed with how you two are so cordial toward each other, being, Cardinals and Cubs, adversaries here talking about baseball, and you actually have come to an agreement on a couple things.
I've never disliked the Cubs. I don't waste energy on disliking something. That just maybe the Chiefs and the Raiders a little bit as a Bronco fan, but the Cubs, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, Coach Heck, but for so many years, the Cubs haven't been anybody we had to worry about very often. Now
not
it's totally
taken
different.
disrespectfully. No, I didn't take that disrespectfully. All I'm taking it is now retribution time has come. And now, as Harry Carey would say, the Cubbies are coming, tra-la, tra-la. The Cubbies are coming, tra-la, tra-la. After his seventh beer.
Now all I can think of, hey, we see Marla Collins without shorts for the first time. That would be a home run in a phone booth. Hey, I got a question for you guys.
Yeah. What?
So who's the front runner for the Elkhart basketball job?
You know what? We talked about that a little bit today. I think there'll be somebody come out of the woods, maybe from Central Indiana. Some big guys. But I think you got to look at Bodie Bender in that.
That's my first number.
I mean, look, Bodie has come into Mishawaka. He's done some things that no one has done at Mishawaka. He's a Jimtown kid. He was an assistant coach at Mishawaka early in his career. So I think that as a front runner, I mean, I gotta give him a little bit of that, right?
Oh, if I'm the AD at Elkhart, that's my first phone call. Absolutely, that's my first phone call.
Yep. Here's the issue. I don't know if the ADs are going to make this decision, but it makes sense. Who else? West Side. We're looking at possibility. Ryan Varga maybe is a possibility too. Things are changing over at Washington. I don't even think that's a possibility because he doesn't know how to coach his own offense. Chad Johnson.
I just think Bodie's better strategically, in my opinion.
He much better, and he has a great relationship with his players. He understands when to push their buttons, when to back off of their buttons, and I think he's really good. Chad Johnston, I don't know, he's had some issues at Riley.
Adams.
Oh, Adams. At Adams, and he may be looking for a clean slate. I don't know, but I don't know if I would take on his baggage, to be honest with you. Somebody said, Eric Gaff would be interested maybe in going back home to Concord, but obviously he didn't because Tyler Layton from Jimtown just got that job. And I think Eric knows for at least a couple years he's got Elijah King, and he's always going to be in the hunt with the great players that he has at St. Joe. So I think Bodie, Bender, and then whichever 2 or 3 matriculate up to South Bend and want to come back to South Bend, from maybe the central part of the state or the Valparaiso area or one of those schools. But I think Bodie should have as good a shot at that job as anybody.
Be my first choice, and I think he would be open to it. I think he'd be open to change. That's for sure.
Well, I think,
and I love him. I mean, I want him to stay at Mishawaka, but I'm also hoping for the best for him, and maybe there's a better opportunity and a better fit somewhere else. We'll see if he decides that.
I mean, some coaches, pick that coaching layout, and they say, "Man, I love this school. I'm going to stay here for 20 years," and that's fine. Some coaches, and I was like this, if I stayed at a job 3 years and then I wanted to get to a bigger school, and I don't know why, because I don't think bigger is always better. But once I got to Anderson, then I didn't think there was anything better. And I stayed there for 18 years. But I kind of think Bodie's still looking for that better and bigger a little bit, and more players coming through on a yearly basis. Speaking of players, talk to me about Coop and how's his baseball season going?
Going okay, just kind of waiting his turn. The team he plays on, they've got a pretty good first baseman and third baseman. Those are his 2 positions. So he's just kind of waiting his turn patiently, and hopefully, something good will happen in the near future. So sometimes you got to be patient.
Yeah, and he gets to play the second game of the doubleheaders, right?
He's kind of been a lot pinch running for the catcher, that courtesy runner, and he gets some pinches. They've been losing games kind of big recently, so he's been getting into the game late. So just trying to take advantage of the opportunities given to him. So,
well, I mean, please give him my best. He's a great kid. You guys have done a great job. You're doing good.
I'm doing good. Just doing my work every single day.
Control.
We miss you, man. I mean, we miss you up here.
Guys too. Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah. Well, listen, man, we can't thank you enough for taking a couple minutes out of your evening and spending a little time with us talking some football tonight, man.
Absolutely. I've got 1 shrimp taco left of the 3 that my wife made, so I'm looking forward to digging back into that.
All right, jump on it, man.
I see where you guys are at, boy. I'm getting kind of hungry for the food they have there, though.
The linebacker's
we've been
amazing.
Pretty lucky. Hey, next time you see Dan Rourke, you could start making some plans with him, because he's got his boy moved up here to Osceola, so he's talking about coming up here to South Bend for some football games next fall.
He is getting revved up to be the color analyst for Chatham Glenwood football this year. So
there you go.
He is going to be. I did a couple of basketball games with him. He's a lot of fun. He's more knowledgeable in basketball than I anticipated. I'm not being mean, but I thought, hey, he's a football guy, but he's got some basketball background in him. So
he coached some basketball. He was one of the assistants down there at Plano East when Jimmy King came through.
How about that? All right.
All right, Darren. Listen, man, be cool.
All right, guys. Always good to talk to you. And if Elkhart calls one of you guys, you should listen.
Hey, go Cubs, go. Nolan Arenado to the Cubs. Wake up tomorrow morning. Call me when it happens. Love you, man. See ya.
See you guys.
All right.
Bye.
Take care, Darren.
He is so freaking good at what he does, man. And it shows you, and people think that they can pick up a mic, that they can get a little system like we got here, that they can get a little laptop, and they can do this job of talking sports and talking athletics. But in order to be really, really good at it, you have to know your craft and know who you're talking about and what, what the ins and outs really are. And Allison Hayes and Darren Pritchett are two of the best when it comes to Notre Dame football or high school sports up here in Michiana. They're just two of the best, man.
Well, and what's interesting is, if you remember last week, we had Bob Nagel on with us just by chance. Next, I open up this morning's South Bend Tribune. They've got a huge front page article on Bob Nagel.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we broke some news for him. And they said, hey, we better get on this.
And when he was sitting here with that mic in his hand, you could just see him radiate a little bit. He's just been through some tough things from a medical standpoint, and he's getting his, so to speak, legs underneath him. Although one of them is a prosthetic leg, and I was just so happy that we were able to bring some stories out of him, because that's what he's all about.
Oh, sure. And he is kind of the godfather of the area now, because he's one of the last connections to Parsegian, Moose Krause, and all those people who in turn had connections to Rockney.
Yeah, no.
So he's getting
great.
the stair step of the stories. He is the storyteller.
Yeah, and one of the big things for him was to be able to keep those stories alive, because, as you said, the people who talked about those stories, they're sliding away, man.
Sure.
And I sure hope that somewhere down the road he can get a microphone back in his hand and still have that platform to be able to talk about that stuff. Hey, some quick NBA stuff.
We need to go tonight. We've got ball games on right now. Matter of fact, Cleveland and Miami are on right now, Game 4. If you stay up late enough, you can watch Houston and Golden State here. The surprise there is Golden State's the 7. And they're up 2-1 on Houston right now. So Houston's kind of in a must-win, and the game's at Golden State tonight. So the Pacers are 3-1 on Milwaukee.
Bucks.
And here's my prediction. If the Bucks lose here in the first round, that may be the last game we see the Greek Freak in a Milwaukee uniform.
Yeah, and what uniform will you see him in then?
Well, he'll be the next free agent. He'll be the next Luka.
Where do you think you'll see him?
I wouldn't even venture to guess.
I know where you'll see him.
I would guess he's either going to the Lakers or the Knicks.
Nope, going to the Bulls.
Bulls.
He loves the Bulls. He loves Chicago. He's going to the Bulls.
Well, there you go.
And you'll see him in one more game, because with Damian Lillard out, the Bucks. I mean, Damian Lillard tore his Achilles tendon.
Yeah, that was announced. So the Pacers.
That series is over.
Yeah, the Bucks series. The Bucks and the Pacers, like I said, that'll be tomorrow night. And it's funny, they were on at 9:30 last night. Tomorrow they're on at 6. So the first game.
Yeah, the times are amazing to me. OKC has swept Memphis out of the playoffs. Memphis.
They fired their coach.
Well, the Morant guy.
And he conveniently got hurt.
Well, there's no discipline to his game or his stuff. So that doesn't surprise me. And OKC had a great year.
Well, and they were the 1-8, so that is predictable. But the 4-0, you would think maybe Memphis might win one game.
Yeah, Denver Clippers. That's a nice series. That's 2-2.
That's the only one that's 2-2, and that's 4 versus 5. So that would make sense. So I think that will be the series that goes 7 games.
Yeah, and the Timberwolves and the Lakers. There's just been. I watched that game. The officiating and I don't know. I can't remember when I used to watch the great Michael Jordan and the Bulls in those championship years. I never thought the officiating was as bad but the officiating to me was absolutely awful. Guys were getting mugged and killed, and no fouls. Now, so I understand if you're getting mugged inside, if you're bouncing the ball down to the post and you're getting hammered inside, but when you're getting hammered 22 feet out on a floor and you can't drive because people are holding you, that's got to be a foul. And J.J. Redick plays his 5 players the whole second half.
That stuff you hear about with small high school teams doing.
Yeah, and at the end of the game, Anthony Edwards made the comment, they were so out of gas. All I had to do was get downhill and get to the basket. And, watching the Lakers play is hard. It's hard to watch the Lakers play from my standpoint.
Yeah.
Because Luka just dominates the ball. And if you make a run at Luka, if you look to trap Luka, he might get rid of it. But the ball sticks in his hand so much. But that's 3-1. Minnesota Knicks are 3-1 against the Pistons. What a bad call. The officials admitted.
Yeah,
Tim Hardaway has a wide open three for the win for the Pistons.
And they mentioned today those pool reports, they serve nothing. I mean, all they do is make people more angry when the league comes out and says, yes, we blew the call.
Yeah.
Well, who's that? That's that transparency. Well, you want forgiveness? I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah, the Pistons are heartbroken, man.
Yeah, you don't that just rubs salt on. Yeah, we missed the call.
Yeah, so that's 3-1 Knicks. Tom Thibodeau hasn't run his guys into the ground yet.
Yeah, and he only plays 6 or 7 people.
Yeah, and like you said, the Celtics up 3-1 on the Magic, and the Pacers are going to close that series out. So, NBA ball is getting really interesting and fun to watch now, except I would like the officials now to start making some calls.
And I think that's going to happen. You're in the first round. You still have 16 teams, but like I mentioned last week, now the players are playing for the name on the front of the shirt instead of the name on the back. And you're seeing who wants to win. And we talked earlier with the colleges about fitting puzzle pieces together. Now you're seeing, do those puzzle pieces fit? And you mentioned with the Lakers, they don't, because they've got too many stars that have to have the ball in their hand.
Yeah, I mean, I like Luka, but he's just so ball dependent. And I'll tell you, it's surprising to me. It's surprising to me that LB has given that up to Luka.
Well, now that was the story in Dallas. If you remember, he would score 46, and they'd lose. And it happened year after year after year. He would score 40 plus, and nobody else would score 20, and they'd get beat. Well, now they thought maybe they might share the ball with the Lakers, but as you said, LeBron's kind of deferred to him.
Yeah, and with that being said, LeBron has 27 yesterday.
Yeah.
So he's still finding his ways to score in transition. But I just and I know that's the way Luka plays, and I know JJ Redick is not going to get quicker ball movement. The ball's going to be in his hands, but I think that hinders their ability to be a championship caliber team. Hey, great show. The linebacker again has been amazing. We've had a couple of great guests on tonight.
We have
talking sports, and we will see you next week from the linebacker.
We got 3 more shows.